The first race of the weekend for Fanatec GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli will be getting underway pretty shortly. We are into the final 10 minutes. The pit lane is open. The cars are making their way round to the grid, and a 50-minute race in prospect. The first of two that they have today after free practice on Friday, pre-qualifying yesterday, and the qualifying sessions, plural, for the two races. And then now we look forward to race one, with the second race coming up later on in the afternoon. The GT2 European Series that is still, in a sense, a slow burn. More and more drivers come and have a look at it and think about committing. We're down to 13 cars for this weekend, sadly with one having dropped out in the last couple of days. But even so, it has been a very competitive championship this year. And the racing is always good, and with the so-called compensation times that the top three have to serve in the subsequent races, it means that there's no clear runaway winner. Up to the grid come the KTMs, the Mercedes. We have Audi represented on the grid this weekend in slightly greater number. We've got two of the R8s, one of the original GT2 chassis, and also, of course, the rather more recent and very successful Maserati gracing the grid as well. So the field will have the 50-minute race to come, with the mandatory pit window between 20 and 30 minutes. And there you can see the 888 Mercedes of Stéphane Perrin starting there, heading up towards the line. Others making their way through the traffic and up to the grid. That is Alexandre Leroy's Maserati, and he finds his way past Leonardo Guarini's similar car that had problems yesterday in qualifying. The team saying it was utterly undrivable, and they missed Q2 to try and work on whatever it was at the rear end of the car that was causing it to have absolutely no balance and give the driver no confidence whatsoever. However, the sister Maserati went very well yesterday, and Philippe Pret, very experienced driver, but running in the AM category, is the man on pole position. And Philippe Pret, who dovetails his racing between cheering on his son Louis in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe races this year, is the man with now a fifth pole of the season. He's actually got 6, but we'll worry about the 6th when we get to the race later on in the day, because he qualified on pole again yesterday for the second race as well in his class. And he's had 3 race wins. He leads the AM class in the championship. 5-minute board now being displayed. So the safety car, they're leaving the grid, the lead car, as it will be, positions itself ready to take the cars around on that formation lap. And Philippe Pret on pole with the qualifying time yesterday, just about 2/10 quicker than anybody else, the LP racing car of the double Ferrari Asia-Pacific champion. And the Monegasque driver, based in Hong Kong these days, has raced also in the Asian Le Mans Series, as well as French GT, Carrera Cup France, and switching to the GT2 Championship for this year. That is Michael Doppelmayr, who is going to start at the other end of the grid in the Audi that he shares with the redoubtable Pierre Caffer. And as ever, key to the pace of that car, or the result of that car, is going to be trying to keep it on the lead lap for the first stint. So Michael Doppelmayr, in a way, could do with a safety car to keep the car in contention. Pierre Caffer much, much faster than Michael Doppelmayr is, but Michael Doppelmayr himself, great enthusiast, loves his racing, and good to have him on the grid. Carlo Tamburini, number 1, will take over at the pit stop, and before he goes racing, he can talk to Antonio Rankin down on the grid.
Carlo, speaking to you yesterday, you were a bit less than impressed. How is the car? Have you managed to fix it?
Yeah, the car is all right now. We had an ABS failure, so electrical problem, and obviously these cars are designed to go with ABS, so if it doesn't work, then it's a mess, so we couldn't drive. But at least, you know, the car is safe now. It's ready to go. Tires are fresh because we didn't drive, and I think we have a good package to get back to the front, at least in race 1, because also at the pit stop we have no handicap, so looking forward to a good result.
Of course, we know that you guys have pace. There is a realistic chance that you should be able to work your way through the pack.
Yeah, I think so.
All the best. Thank you.
Thanks.
So that answers the question of yesterday. ABS failure for number 1 Maserati. It didn't get out at all in Q2, so it'll start that race at the very back. 3-minute board shown, grid being cleared and it won't be long therefore before we're in business to get this race underway with a real mix of car up at the pointy end with Maserati, KTM and Mercedes. We have to point out a little bit further back on the grid, but good to have him back on the grid, is Stefan Rattel, the founder and CEO of the SRO Motorsports Group. He shares the 88 Audi with the Slovakian driver Stefan Rosina, former Porsche Super Cup racer. And Stefan Rosina is somebody that we know, after watching him in KTMs in GT2, has lost none of his speed. He was mighty in qualifying yesterday, really committed, really exciting to watch. And there is Patron's Audi. Stefan Rattel will go first. And probably blessed relief to get away from having to worry about all his customers. He can now lock himself away into a race car and enjoy himself for the first stint, rather than having to deal with teams and drivers and sponsors and promoters and guests. This is his time. So there is the pole position man, Philippe Pret. That is Christophe Bourret, who starts his Mercedes on the outside of the third row. Quickly, let's hear from our pole position driver, Philippe Pret, with Antonia.
Philippe, we are literally about to go green, so I'll keep this quick. You've had a mixed last weekend. Can you make it a good one for you?
I hope so. I hope. We will see at the end of the race. I told you in 1 hour.
Go on then. Best of luck.
So Philippe Pret, good to go. The Ferrari turned Maserati peddler, thumbs up. It's a great looking car, the Maserati GT2. And the fact you've got 3 of them on the grid and possibly more to come in the future illustrates that, again, Stefan Rattel creates a concept, creates a rule set, and the manufacturers show an interest. So we've had Porsche, we've got Audi, we've got Mercedes, KTM, Maserati. We have seen on occasions Ferrari and Lamborghini teams dropping in with a kind of a one-make car made to a GT2 for the weekend. The manufacturers there haven't yet committed, but can't be far off, I think. Just look at the way that GT4 blossomed, and so many manufacturers have joined into there. Right, grid is being cleared. 15-second board will be next, just to get the drivers ready, and then they'll follow the lead car, the Lamborghini Huracan, around on this formation lap. The outside of the front row being Martin Koch in that green KTM that you'll see now in the bottom left corner of the picture. Martin Koch into GT2 racing, having been a quick driver within the 24-hour series, the Creventic Run competition, and also had a go in GT4 European Series as well last year. So the 15-second board now shown. The lead car, the red Lamborghini, will accelerate clear in a moment. The green flag will be fluttered to let the race cars go as well. And with the pit stop times affecting those that were in the top 3 at Spa, Martin Koch's KTM will get 10 seconds. The Mercedes behind it of Gilles Vannelet and Jean-Luc Beaubelique will get 10 seconds. There'll be 7 seconds applied to the KTM of Thomas Anderson and Simon Birch, and also the Mercedes of Christophe Bourret and Pascal Gibon. And there'll be 5 to the Alexandre Leroy Maserati as well from AM. So then, the cars all released onto this final formation lap, and it is Philippe Pret then on pole position with Martin Koch lining up alongside him, Alexandre Leroy starting 3rd, and then Gilles Vannelet going first in 87 Mercedes. 4th on the grid, Mauro Ricci returns to the championship with his son Benjamin. Mauro Ricci starts, and he's alongside Christophe Bourret, the pair of them ahead of Stéphane Perrin, and then Belgian veteran Eric de Doncker. Next up, Thomas Anderson, Sedi Samini returning to the series as well alongside him. Then it's Stefan Rattel and Leonardo Guarini, both drivers to watch, and Michael Doppelmayr rounding out the grid then as the field will work its way up now through the parabolica up towards the hairpin. So with the need in the 2 classes for Martin Koch and Gilles Vannelet to pull 10 seconds of a gap over their rivals, because that's what they've got to serve in the pit lane. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the first stint. Martin Koch hasn't been racing for that many years, but he's certainly quick. Gilles Vannelet has been racing for that many years, and he's still quick. Very, very experienced driver is Gilles Vannelet, whose career spans quite a few decades now, having raced in French GT Championship in the early days of the FIA GT3 European Challenge, as it was then called, in GT4 races as well. This is Alexandre Leroy coming down to the Mercedes arena, trying to slow and go and just force a bit of warmth through the tyres and the brakes. And then as they get towards the stadium at the end of this next short straight, they'll start to put themselves in that Noah's Ark formation ready for the start of the race. This circuit the current iteration of Hockenheim, just under 4.6 kilometres long. And there's Gilles Vannelet weaving around. The Mercedes that he and Jean-Luc Bobelic share comes, like the Christophe Bouret, Pascal Gibon entry, and the Ricci's car as well, from the Acodis ASP stable. So we don't have Acodis on the GT3 grid anymore, but they're still in the paddock. Jerome Policon's team still represented. And as the cars now put themselves side by side ready for the start of the race, this is going to be then our 7th race of the year within the GT2 series. The championship having got underway at Paul Ricard, it went to Misano and then to Spa, and some very competitive racing we have enjoyed all season then. More of the same is about to get underway as the cars now turn up through the Sud-Curve, heading towards the timing line. The lights on the gantry are red. If Joël Duval, the race director, is content, he'll give the instruction to flick the lights to green. We'll go racing. The lead car comes into the pit lane then, the pace car as it is. The drivers accelerate their way now up towards the lights. It is Philippe Pret on pole, Martin Koch on the outside of the front row. Lights go green, we go racing at Hockenheim, and a good getaway is made by Gilles Vannelet from the second row of the grid. The gap ahead of him suddenly disappears, and he has to think about plan B on the outside line. Martin Koch goes around the outside of a curb, whacking Philippe Pret there, who bounces his way through turn 1 and drops places as a result of all of that. The pole man is down to 3rd already as Koch leads. Vannelet 2nd. Look down from the drone coming up towards turn 2. They brake, they turn into the corner. And at the rear of the pack, Michael Doppelmayr trying to play catch-up against the Mercedes that's been a little bit sluggish off the line. Was that possibly the Dodonka car? Meanwhile, change for the race lead. Gilles Vannelet powers past Martin Koch, and Philippe Pret's Maserati unable to fight back at the moment as he tries to get himself into a rhythm here. Gilles Vannelet using all of the experience, many years of it then, to good effect. He leads out of the Spitzkehrer for the first time. There on the inside line, whoops, contact. Leonardo Guarini gets into Mauro Ricci. I was about to say look for Guarini because he's making places up, but then got up the inside of the traffic, couldn't slow down the car, and bang, turns around Mauro Ricci, and that is going to get looked at, and that also completely ruins the Maserati team's race. Never mind the Ricci's, but also the Maserati crew that were trying to work their way up from a poor qualifying. With that ABS drama, 12th the car was on the grid. Mauro Ricci's car that has just been assaulted, that was 5th on the grid. Race leader Gilles Vannelet then comes into the stadium for the first time, and that yellow flag zone up at the Spitzkehrer, meaning that those cars still badly delayed, neither of which has got going again. So big disappointment on the opening lap for both Lego, Leonardo Guarini, who was there trying to rejoin, and Mauro Ricci trying to get that car restarted as well. It takes about half a minute or so to cycle through to let the car sort of recover and then restart. You hemorrhage time, and it gives all sorts of palpitations in race control, who are wondering now whether or not to neutralise the race, and they're going to have to. Safety car is deployed. The call has just been given. This was Guarini, so late on the brakes, bang, right into Mauro Ricci, and again, drivers know the perils of that corner. They know that the drivers ahead are going to turn in at some point, so we have to go safety car, and that is with certainly 1, maybe 2, still to be retrieved out at the Spitzkehrer. So all of these laps, of course, count within the 50 minutes. It gives a good chance here for Michael Doppelmayr. Even though we'd lost a bit of ground on the opening lap, he brings that Audi at the rear of the pack back into contention, and thus helps Pierre Caffer in stint 2. Fewer green flag laps means that the slower pace of Doppelmayr in the opening stint has less of a consequence, and it keeps Caffer in the mix for the second part of the race. So the first GT2 race of the weekend, we go safety car, and the field right now wriggling its way towards the incident zone. Now we'll see whether it's clear. Of course, the safety car had not been scrambled by the time the leaders went past. In fact, the road is now clear. It's one of those Murphy's Law situations. You call for the safety car and then the driver set off again. So it'll be probably just 1 lap to bring them back round to the timing line. The safety car is parked in the stadium, but the safety car call was given when they'd gone past it. So the safety car now waits at the exit of turn 1 to pick them up. That Ricci Mercedes, even though it's still going, I would suggest, has got damaged suspension. It looks a bit crab-like. Bits of car retrieved by the marshals there. Safety car waits for the leaders, so it lets Ricci go. But that doesn't just look straight to me. That looks as though it's slightly crab-like, as I say. Into the pits has come Leonardo Guarini. Replay of the start. Good getaway by Gilles Vannelet. Good getaway also by Stefan Perrin in the silver Mercedes up on the inside. Have a look at Philippe Pret, the pole man. He turns in and bang, wallops the curb, very nearly wallops into Vanderlei as well. This was turn 2. Philippe Pret covering off the traffic. Alexandre Leroy going around the outside of Mauro Ricci, and also Seti Samini's KTM nipping up the inside there. The orange KTM making some good progress, and then Vanderlei just booms past for the race lead, and the AM class car up front, and poor El Mauro Ricci turns into the corner and all of a sudden is assaulted, harpooned by Leonardo Gorini. So Gilles Vanderlei has come across the line thinking, where's the safety car? All these boards and flags, where is it? He's about to discover coming out of turn 1. And Gorini there has gone a lap down. So Carlo Tamburini's enthusiasm and optimism for the race, I'm afraid, has ebbed away, despite how well the car may or may not go. As soon as you're off the lead lap, forget it. Right, the safety car will be in this time. It's scooped them all up. Mauro Ricci is persevering, despite the fact that car does not look 100%, so we'll see whether it pits at the end of the lap. He's not caught the crocodile yet, but Mauro Ricci is coming into the stadium, trying to make the best out of a poor situation. The other problem is he's not going to catch the queue, and I think Ricci has realised that it's just not right, so he's coming in. There he is. The wipers work, but the car doesn't want to go in a totally straight line. So those two drivers that we lost early doors come to the pits. And the safety car boards and flags will be withdrawn this time, and then we will be good to go racing once more. With Gilles Vanderlei, the race leader, with Martin Koch in second place, with Philippe Pret third, Stefan Perrin fourth, Alexandre Leroy fifth, sixth is Seti Samini rather, seventh Eric de Doncker, 8th Thomas Anderson's KTM, 9th Christophe Bourret Mercedes, Stefan Rattel is 10th, Michael Doppelmayr is 11th, and I'm afraid to say that is now last, with the demise of the two drivers involved in that earlier incident. Although Leonardo Gorini has gone back out, if nothing else, they could use this as a test session. So there it is. There is number 1 battered Maserati. It's off the lead lap, but at least, as I say, they can make sure that all is well for race 2. So, safety car in this time, and we will go racing, all being well. Gilles Vanderlei ahead of Martin Koch. They battled early on that opening lap, and we'll see now whether Vanderlei is going to be able to get away. Don't forget, these two both have extra time to serve in the pits, so a safety car for them is not good news. They have less opportunity, therefore, to build up a gap. Vanderlei leads on the green flag, Martin Koch behind him, and then Philippe Pret second in AM, third overall. They dive down through turn 1. The second in Pro-Am currently is Eric de Doncker, and third Pro-Am is Thomas Anderson, as Vanderlei leads the pack up towards turn 2 with just over 43 minutes of the 50 on the clock as they break for the tight right now, up at turn 2. Flick left at 3, and you can see this part of the circuit really does play into the hands of the Mercedes. It's where Vanderlei got the lead on that opening lap, and it's where he gets away now from not just Martin Koch, but possibly Philippe Pret comes up to have a go at the KTM as well. On the outside line at the Spitzkehrer is the Maserati. Philippe Pret from pole tries to cut across and get the place. Is he going to be able to do it? He gives Koch racing room, in fairness, and on the tighter line the KTM fights back, stepping out over the curb and back on the road again. He's Pret. Alexandre Leroy watching all this going on ahead of him. He rounds 5th at the moment, coming down now to turn 7 and then into the Mercedes arena, looking down from that high shot. You see the cars brake hard, flick left. So Pret second, Koch third, still leading his class. And then in 4th place, Stefan Perrin, another of the AMs. Alexandre Leroy is next up as the cars now sprint down towards the stadium, with Gilles Vanderlei trying to build the lead. Leonardo Gorini, by the way, is back into the pit lane in the troubled number 1 Maserati. I think we can pretty much ignore that car in terms of race positioning from here on in, but we'll see whether it does keep going in and out and doing the laps as a test session. But it's clearly not going to feature in terms of a result now. Whether it's worth staying out and trying to get some class points just by getting to the end, the team will decide. Here is Vanderlei up towards the line then, and he's trying to build that gap over Philippe Pret. They're both running in the AM contest, so important for Vanderlei to get away because Pret doesn't have any extra time to serve in the pit lane. So Vanderlei needs to try to build 10 seconds, if he can, over Philippe Pret. Martin Koch runs third ahead of Perrin, Leroy, and there Seti Samini in 6th place. The car's making that run up towards turn 2. Behind Samini is de Doncker in 7th spot. and Michael Doppelmayr running at the rear of the queue right now. Mauro Ricci's Mercedes is very much an abandoned car, been pushed out of the way in the pit lane, so that with its damage is going no further in this race, and it will be a very grumpy Mauro Ricci, no doubt. And the incident between those two is under investigation. You might argue that Leonardo Guarini has a case to answer all of that because of the contact between the two. It was an ambitious effort to get past as much traffic as he could going up the inside, but of course into a hairpin, you know that cars are going to sweep back across the front of you. In the meantime though, Vanderlei is getting away from Pret, and there's a whole battle pack building up behind Seti Samini of Dodonka, Anderson, and then Christophe Bure. Stefan Rattel almost on the back of that group. The Audi sort of trying to play catch up. Audi, remember, the car to beat in the opening year of GT2 back in 2021, but the car's possibly not as well developed now as the other brands that have come in with more commitment, like Mercedes and Maserati in an example, whereas Audi, as we know, are sort of scaling back their GT activities and concentrating on Formula One for the future. Now, Mauro Ricci out of the race, very disappointed, no doubt. He can explain what happened to Antonia.
Mauro, could you talk us through what happened there?
What's happened? Just an accident. For me, it's impossible. We have only 12 cars, gentlemen, and one more time my car is destroyed, so I'm not happy. But it's like this, it's the race, and the team have to work hard to prepare the car for the second race. That's it. Nothing to explain.
Wait for the cars to go past. How severe is the damage to the car? Will it be fixable for the second race?
I don't understand, sorry?
How bad is the damage to the car?
The damage is the wheel on the back, so it's like this. It was impossible to drive because I was doing like this, and the car jumped, impossible to brake, so...
Commiserations. Well, all the best for race 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Big disappointment from Mauro Ricci. I think when he's saying it's like this, he's with a semaphore looking at driving a car with his arms almost crossed with the tracking all the way out. So damaged suspension, inevitable after that impact. And he has a point, doesn't he? That on the opening lap, yes, drivers want to gain places, but there's discretion being the better part of valour on occasions. And Leonardo Guarini, the bite a bit as well. His car damaged and out of the race. Whether there will be a conversation between those two remains to be seen, but the incident is under investigation. I wonder whether the ABS failed again, though, on Leonardo Guarini. That could be, in part, his defence, that the car wouldn't slow down enough for the corner. It was an ABS failure yesterday. Anyway, meantime, Alexandre Leroy here, up behind Stéphane Perrin, and trying to find a way by as they come into the Sud Curve. This is up towards the end of lap number 6, with the lead gap coming down. Gilles Vanderlei not getting away from Philippe Pret, if anything, that margin being reduced between the two. Behind them is Martin Koch, leading his class quite comfortably, and then for 4th here, Stéphane Perrin goes across the timing line with Alexandre Leroy right behind him. Down towards turn 1 they go. The curve just brought in a little bit here over the last few seasons, so it's slightly pinched, and the drivers have an unnatural line through the corner. It's why you find more track limit offences at turn 1 than anywhere else, because the natural line of the corner takes you over the curb rather than that extra bit of lock needed to tighten the right-hander. Good fight going on though here. Perrin ahead of Leroy as they go up towards the long left of the Parabolica and then up towards the Spitzkehrer. So Stéphane Perrin brakes hard and has shaken off Leroy on that part of the circuit. It does favour the Mercedes, that long, fast element. And then the heavy braking on the inside line there. Look further back is the Christophe Bure Mercedes that goes up the inside of Thomas Anderson's KTM, runs both of them out wide, and fairly forceful way, but it works for Bure. Thomas Anderson losing out to Stéphane Rattel as well, who's gone past him. And if the KTM has avoided much damage, it can possibly fight back, but I think it has got damage because it's slowed right down as they come through the corner. Stéphane Rattel then up into 9th place, and Thomas Anderson's KTM fading in the background. So that rub between them, I think, has done for the KTM as they come up towards the stadium once more. Stéphane Rattel turns through, and we are round about 7 minutes now off that pit window opening. So some of the teams may well choose to come in early and put their gun driver in. Others might go to the end of the window, keep the quicker driver in for this opening stint. Leaders go by half a second only as Vanderlei tries to fend off Pret. For 3rd place, it is going to be over the line, Martin Koch, and then 4th and 5th, Perrin and Leroy, with Thomas Anderson's KTM limping round. That was the car that we saw up at turn 6 a moment ago, but it has really lost a huge amount of pace on that lap. So Thomas Anderson has just done a lap that's about 10 seconds off the cars around him. And although it's still going, it is being nursed, I think, towards the pit window. Meantime, Gilles Vanelay brakes for the Spitzkehrer, goes through the hairpin. Great noises that GT cars make, and GT2 is no exception. The Mercedes ahead of the Maserati. An effort being made here, look, by Eric de Doncker up on the inside of Sedi Simony to try to go by. This is at turn 6. The KTM on the outside line is afforded just about enough room, and Sedi Simony comes off the corner ahead. So Simony hangs on to 6th place. 7th, Eric de Doncker. 8th behind them is Christophe Bourret. Bourret actually is making pretty good progress here. He's catching up nicely, having got past Anderson a lap ago. He's taking Stefan Rattel along for the ride. So we've got here the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th group all running pretty close together as the field currently works lap 8. The race leaders have just gone across the line. Vanelay measuring that margin to Philippe Pret, but he's not really being able to build it. It's still hovering around the 7/10 of a second mark. There's a big gap, though, between Pret and Martin Koch in 3rd place. And then for 4th, just going over the timing line, Perrin and Leroy. Up there at turn 2, though, late braking by Philippe Pret draws him just a little bit nearer, but then he deepens the corner, washes out wide. Here is the Perrin-Leroy battle. This is for 4th overall and 3rd in AM, and it's the Mercedes just ahead. Stéphane Perrin's car then is just able to maintain position over Leroy, who I thought was trying to duck up the inside coming into turn 2 there, but it didn't really pay out for him. Bear in mind, though, that Leroy will stay in this car to the 2nd stint. He'll do the entire race, therefore, whereas Perrin will give way to Jörg Wiebahn. Jörg Wiebahn is very quick as well. He is a GT4 champion, but the point behind all of this is that Leroy will know exactly what the car and the track feels like when he's back out on track after the stop. Again, de Doncker has a go at Simony up the inside into turn 6. And again, Simony rounds wide. Let's see if he's got the drive off the corner. He has then, so he fends off the Mercedes. Behind them, the similar car of Christophe Bourret drawing a little bit nearer. So the field comes up towards the stadium once more for the 9th time. We're about 3.5 minutes off that pit window opening. And still up front, Gilles Vanelay holding sway. Both the Ricci Mercedes and the Maserati of Leonardo Guarini now both confirmed as retirements from the race. And that therefore means that we are one fewer Mercedes, one fewer Maserati in the race. But it is a Mercedes leading from a Maserati. There's Stefan Rattel's Audi, running in 9th place at the moment, getting onto the back here of Christophe Bourret. So this fight for 8th place building up nicely. Bourret now having to think about defending rather than going after Eric de Doncker. They're going through is Stefan Rattel, still running in 9th place. The incident between Christophe Bourret and the KTM of Thomas Anderson from turn 6 a couple of laps ago is under investigation, and we understand that there's steering damage now for number 80. That's why it's losing all this time and pace. So there was a big rub between them, and the net result is that the number 80 KTM is now struggling with this steering damage. The Spitzkehrer hairpin, always a pinch point, doesn't really matter what the category is, and it's been the scene of the dramas in this race as well. Race leaders then for the 10th time through the Mercedes arena there, with de Doncker being attacked again by Bourret, and Stefan Rattel right on the back of them also. Now there you've got Christophe Bourret in 53, and 8th he is. That's one of the cars out of AM. Eric de Doncker ahead is a Pro-Am entry. Stefan Rattel behind is another of the Pro-Ams. sharing with Stefan Rossina. Race leaders have gone by, and the lead gap has crept up a little bit now. It's gone to a second and a half between Vanelay and Pret. It's not enough to really save Jean-Luc Bobelic, who will take over the Mercedes into the second stint with that 10 seconds to serve in the pits, but you never know. Might be a safety car in the second stint, which will bunch everybody up and give him a bit more of a chance. Michael Doppelmayr, in the meantime, is on that lead lap. He's coming through the stadium and will be one of the first to pit at the end of the next lap, I'm sure. Now, this is that moment that did for Thomas Anderson. Bure up the inside, and yes, he did make a pretty solid whack, didn't he, on the front of the KTM. And although Thomas Anderson rejoined, straight away that car was losing pace. That is now under investigation from race control, and that explains why Anderson's lap times have been going up. So there, Eric de Donker having another look to try to unpick the KTM of Seti Samini from 6th place, but he can't do it going into the Spitzkehrer. He's been up alongside, he's applied the pressure, but Seti Samini hangs on to that place. But the pit window is going to be open for them at the end of this lap, so it could be that the way to get around the issue of overtaking that KTM is to put Loris Hezemans into the car, which they would probably do anyway at the earliest opportunity. Hezemans the quicker of the two, the young Dutch driver. So we'll see in a moment whether or not in this time is going to come either of the leaders. For Philippe Pret, it doesn't really matter quite so much when he stops, because he will be continuing in the race, but he just gets it out of the way. But neither come in this time. Vanelay up towards the timing line still leads then. Looking further back, there is de Donker from Bure. We have got Martin Koch coming into the pit lane then, the leader of the Pro-Am class. What about others? Stefan Rattel, possibly, yes. And ahead of him coming in is Eric de Donker, and ahead of him is also coming in Christophe Bure. So the pit lane, as predicted, gets busy. In fact, to tell you a lie, not Martin Koch, Alexandre Leroy's Maserati it was that came in. So Martin Koch carries on before he gives way to Reinhard Koffler. Alexandre Leroy, as the regulations dictate, gets out of the car. There Stefan Rattel arrives at the LP Racing box. Stefan Rossina sprints around the car. So the pit stop has to be 112 seconds line to line. And then in the case of some, there's the extra time to serve, and there'll be an extra 7 seconds for that car of Alexandre Leroy. In comes Thomas Anderson to give way to Simon Birch, but there's probably not much they can do to sort out the steering problems now after that big whack. They'll just have to send Simon Birch back into the race and tell him to live with it. He'll be aware of the car's relative lack of pace, that's for sure. He'll be looking at the timing display and seeing the lap times going up and up and up. Eric de Donker, already with his helmet off, has given away to Loris Hezemans in number 98 Mercedes, which does not have to serve any extra time. Gilles Vanelay is on his own now, coming over the line because Philippe Pret's in the pits. And this lap also in has come Martin Koch. So second and third, both down the pit road. That's Pret, and that's Koch. And Reinhard Koffler will there run around the car, ready to take over. Bodywork up, bodywork forward. A very distinctive KTM feature. Martin Koch threads himself between the roll cage. Reinhard Koffler gets in as well. It's an art getting in and out of any race car, particularly in that KTM. So Gilles Vanelay staying out for as long as he can. He's done the fastest lap of the race. And trying to build the gap as best he can over Philippe Pret. There, Alexandre Leroy rejoins. And behind, Loris Hezemans comes out. That's going to be a car to watch, I think, now. Stefan Rossina behind, likewise, taking over from Stefan Rattel, as Gilles Vanelay comes down to turn 8 into the Mercedes arena here. Done the fastest lap of the race already to get that CrowdStrike fastest lap mantle, and a 1 minute 42.107 is the time that Vanelay has done. Here he comes then now down into the approach to the stadium, rides up the curb on the inside and into the Sachs curve. That slightly banked left-hander comes Gilles Vanelay, heading to the end of his stint. He's probably got another couple of laps of time that he can still have in the car. He is quicker than Bobelic, so it makes sense to have Gilles for as long as possible. Out on track, down comes the leader out of the Sud curve. A little bit of a slide as the power comes in and it drifts the car wide up the curb. Through he goes. Vanderlei now does 13 laps of the race as Reinhard Koffler, having to serve an extra 10 seconds for winning at Spa, sits and waits. This, of course, means that the order is going to be shuffled a little. So by not stopping, you gain a lap over the opposition at the moment. Or if you like, by stopping, you lose a lap to the leader, because that is roughly the amount of time involved in a pit stop. Vanderlei then, at face value, now has this enormous lead, but it's all going to balance out once 87 makes its regulation stop. Treble 8 gets away. Jörg Wiebahn at the wheel of the car now. And Wiebahn up alongside number 16 of Sehi Salmini there. That's yet to stop the orange KTM, so it's a phony fight. Sehi Salmini running in second place at the moment, but owes us a pit stop, so that car will drop when it comes in. Down towards the Parabolica goes the KTM. That's the orange car out of the True Racing stable, as against the Motorsport Zentrum Reed car of Koch and Koffler. And Wiebahn has a big dive up the inside, realises it wasn't going to work, stands on the brakes rather than get involved in any contact, and thankfully contact avoided between the two of them. But you can see how much time that has cost Jörg Wiebahn. Now he's fallen right back after having to stand on the anchors there. So the leaders are on lap 14, and they are Vanderlei from Salmini, and Gilles Vanderlei completes yet another lap, stays out for a little bit longer. 24 minutes of the race to go as he goes through now, heads towards the right-hander at turn 1. Sehi Salmini also yet to pit, runs second for now. Jean-Luc Bobelic and Gilles Vanderlei having taken 2 race wins this season. Sehi Salmini and Klaus Angerhofer. This car yesterday had a downshift problem. It really struggled in the pre-qualifying session, and then at the very end of Q2 stopped out on track, triggered a red flag that ended the session slightly early. Today all looks good. Loris Hezemans in the meantime, by the way, number 98 Mercedes, has done the fastest lap of the race. There he is in the background, the 4th of the cars, the orange and silver Mercedes. So Hezemans on a mission. And now starting to look very menacing indeed, as also is the white and red Audi behind of Stefano Rossi, now having taken over from Stefan Rattel. Here, Loris Hezemans coming up towards the Spitzkehrer. He'll go out of the Parabolica. He is, as I say, the fastest man on track now, having taken over from Eric de Doncker. And Pierre Caffer we ought to dwell on for a moment, because he's taken over from Michael Doppelmayr and is, as you would expect, flying. Pierre Caffer has now done the fastest lap of the race. So he is already ahead of Simon Birch, although in fairness that KTM had extra time to serve in the pits. This is Vanderlei, who is coming up towards the Sud curve, and we'll see whether or not another lap beckons. It does. Here he is into turn 17, up towards the line now. Gilles Vanderlei goes through. 3 minutes of the window remain, so I think he's going to have to come in at the end of this lap. That's Pierre Caffer then. Fastest man on the circuit now. 1 minute 40.785 is that fastest lap. Pole position was a 1:42, so Pierre Caffer absolutely flying, as in the meantime here, Jörg Wiebahn has been caught by Alexandre Leroy, and the pair of them have been caught by Loris Hezemans. Now Hezemans in Pro-Am ought to be able to pick his way past them. He's a very quick driver. That is Sehi Salmini coming down the pit lane ahead. So Salmini is in for his regulation stop to give way to Klaus Angerhofer. Through go Wiebahn, Leroy, Hezemans. Rossina is not that far behind them either. On board with Leroy, the Maserati going up now towards turn 2, but it's Loris Hezemans, I think, behind, who is the real threat here. Let's see what he can do to pick a way by. Tightens the line out of turn 2, but the outside at 3 isn't really a place he wants to be put. So now he goes to the outside up towards the Parabolica at turn 5. And the Mercedes just breezes by, very similar to how we saw Vanderlei get past Pret on the opening lap of the race. So he's done it, he's gone through, and this is Alexandre Leroy's view. Now, it's a place lost overall, but not in class, so he's still focused on getting onto terms with Wiebahn, and I reckon it won't be long before Hezemans gets past Jörg Wiebahn, and that in turn will reignite the AM battle because you've got the two cars together on the road. But right now, Leroy just losing touch a little bit with Loris Hezemans as Vanderlei finally does come into the pit lane. So he's in this time. So Gilles Vanderlei makes his way down the pit road. And let's see where that car is going to rejoin, bearing in mind that it has to serve 10 seconds in the pit lane by winning its class last time out at Spa. Vanderlei in, dragged out of the car. Jean-Luc Bobelic will get on board. They put some fuel into the car, so the drivers have to be clear of it. And there, the other Mercedes in the race, those of Wiebahn and Hezemans, ahead of Alexandre Leroy, who now go through and put themselves back onto the lead lap. But the prediction would be that Philippe Pret is going to be the race leader. There, Jean-Luc Bobelic squeezed into the car, ready to go. Again, there never looks much room, does there, between the seat and the roll cage and the steering wheel for the driver to quickly thread their way into the seat. But JLB will be ready to go. The two Mercedes are overlapping, and that's Loris Hezemans up the inside to go ahead of Jörg Wiebahn now. So Loris Hezemans is about to go 5th, although Wiebahn's having a red-hot go to fend him off and has got the inside line for the Spitzkehrer. The last of the late breakers is going to be Wiebahn. He gets the place back on the inside line. So Jörg Wiebahn was ahead, but Hezemans gets a better line out of the corner and is ahead as they come into turn 7, which takes you into the Mercedes arena. So Loris Hezemans has done it, he's gone by, and now Leroy will come up to have a go at AM competition, Jörg Wiebahn. So their battle renewed now, seeing that the Pro-Am Mercedes has gone by. The Motorsport 98 entry of De Doncker and Hezemans. Away goes Jean-Luc Bobelic, and he is going to rejoin the road ahead of Philippe Pret by the look of it. He is slowly making his way down the pit lane, but no, Pret's going to get him. Philippe Pret will come out of the corner ahead because Jean-Luc Bobelic is just emerging from the pit lane. The extra 10 seconds did do for that team, and there Jean-Luc Bobelic in the background accelerates out now. He retains second overall ahead of Reinhard Koffler. But it's Koffler now we need to be watching relative to Philippe Pret for the race lead to see whether we can get a Pro-Am or an AM victor. Number 24, Alexandre Leroy's pit stop time is under investigation. And that's Stefan Rossina getting himself past Alexandre Leroy for 6th place. And Pierre Caffer, who has done the fastest lap, is coming into the pit lane. Now, the Audi with a problem, therefore, comes in. That's rather bad news. So, as you look down the pit lane, Pierre Caffer is going to be in there before much longer. Rossina ahead of Leroy coming up to turn 6. This is Alexandre Leroy's view. That's Pierre Caffer down the pit road. Looks okay on that side. See what the team does. He's got well, let's see whether he's got a flat on the left rear. So keep an eye out of the window to see what the team does. Meanwhile, Jean-Luc Bobelic to Philippe Pret. New order, Philippe Pret taking the lead on the pit stop. So Koffler in 3rd place, catching Bobelic will be the gap to monitor. And Philippe Pret, so experienced that the times are always so good. I reckon he's going to be able to hang on to win this race outright. There he is, going over the line. Jean-Luc Bobelic behind and Reinhard Koffler in 3rd spot. The gap between the top two, 5 seconds. And the gap 1st to 3rd, 7 seconds. Although Koffler is quicker than Philippe Pret. But to make up 7 seconds in 17 minutes, he's going to need more than just tenths per lap, which is the differential at the minute. So there through is Reinhard Koffler, the former single-seater racer who ran out of money like so many and had a few years on the sidelines before being tempted back by KTM. And remains a very quick competitive driver. Comes then now up through the Spitzkehrer. He's definitely getting closer to Bobelic. Big flash of the lights there to say, I'm coming for you. So it is game on now as he gets a little bit nearer to The Mercedes just up the road ahead in that second spot. Won't be long, therefore, before that battle is ignited between the pair. And I also suspect if he can clear swiftly that Mercedes, then Koffler will be able to have a real go after Philippe Pret for the race lead. Here they come into the stadium once again. Nose to tail into the Sachs curve. But there, no chance for Reinhard Koffler to go by. Jean-Luc Bobelic is a very experienced driver. He may not be as fast as Koffler. And he goes very, very wide there. Little mistake, opens up the door, and Reinhard Koffler needs no second invitation to go by. Job done, straight through them. Up he goes one further place. And so now, Reinhard Koffler up into second spot, 7.1 seconds back off the race leader. That now is the margin to monitor. So Reinhard Koffler released, Jean-Luc Bobelic hanging on to second within the AM class, but Reinhard Koffler leading in Pro-Am now wants an outright race win. 24 there, Alexandre Leroy being given a 12-second time penalty at the end of the race for being short on the pit stop. Pierre Caffer's Audi, I think I mentioned, was coming into the pit lane. We saw it down the pit road. It's something to do with the drive shaft, we understand from the pits. So Pierre Caffer, disappointing that for both him and Michael Doppelmayr. And Audis don't often brake like that. So a drive shaft drama for Pierre Caffer. That's another retirement, so another team with work to do. That's another out of the LP Racing stable, isn't it? 18 Pierre Caffer's Audi, or Michael Doppelmayr's Audi. So they've got a Maserati to worry about. They've got an Audi to worry about as well before race 2 later on in the day. This race has 14 minutes still on the clock. They're going through is Alexandre Leroy, who is having this good battle with Jörg Wiebahn. But again, it's even if he gets the place, it stands as a rather Pyrrhic victory because of the time penalty to be applied at the very end. So there, Jörg Wiebahn, again, wriggling his way out of the stadium onto the pit straight once again. This will put 19 laps in the book for these two. Jörg Wiebahn not getting away. That Maserati is keeping him honest, that is for sure. Alexandre Leroy has had good pace this year, but he'll be pretty miffed at the team for releasing him too soon. Grabs a gear in that Maserati. The similar car, Philippe Pret, 6.7 seconds up the road as Leroy dives to the inside at turn 2. Wiebahn gives him racing room, as you'd expect, but it doesn't work for the Maserati, so Jörg Wiebahn is still ahead as they come now to the fast left-hander through the Parabolica up to the Spitzkehrer hairpin at turn 6, still running together. This is a part of the circuit that really does favour that Mercedes AMG. Out of the hairpin. This time Leroy looks to the inside, but again that Mercedes AMG just has really good drive off the corner, and so it stays ahead. Leroy needs to do it under braking or try and force a mistake out of Jörg Wiebahn, but it shows how evenly matched the cars are. They've both got their strengths around different parts of the circuit. Leroy feints to the inside line, but Wiebahn saw that coming and is able to cover it off. And even if he lets the Maserati go, he'll still get the place back because of this 12-second penalty to be applied to Leroy. In a way, if the NM Racing team that runs that Mercedes were keen to do it, they could let Wiebahn go, tell him on the radio to let Leroy pass and just sit tight. He'll still get the place. But at the moment, Jörg Wiebahn is defending for all he's worth, trying to keep Alexandre Leroy at bay. The danger of doing that is that suddenly you find yourself in a battle you don't need to be, and an incident puts you into jeopardy. Race leaders through once more. 6 seconds the margin. We've got just under 12 minutes to go. So Reinhard Koffler is closing all the while on Philippe Pret. Whether he gets there in time remains to be seen. There towards turn 2. Leroy again good on the brakes, inching up onto the back, but he brakes so late the car then washes out wide, and Wiebahn has the momentum off the corner. And this is the part of the circuit anyway, as we've seen in the past, that really does play into the hands of that Mercedes. So the gap widens once again as the cars now sprint their way towards the Spitzkehrer hairpin. Leroy brakes hard, brakes late, so he closes right up by the time he's sorted himself out, so the Mercedes breaks away once again. Now behind them is Stefan Rossina, who surprisingly hasn't really been carving his way onto the back of them. His last lap was quicker, but even so, he's still got to try to make up 5.3 seconds. Leroy getting himself now out of that Mercedes arena, coming down to turn 12. The race leader in the meantime is just going over the timing line, Philippe Pret, who looks as though he's going to be a runaway class winner in this race, but then we'll get compensation time for race 2. Reinhard Koffler 4.8 seconds behind him, so on that lap 1.2 seconds quicker. That is more like it, but again Pret's in a similar situation in a way to Wiebahn. Pick your battle. Yes, it'd be great to have an outright win, but it's the class points for the championship that he's after, so Pret, even if he's caught, can afford to let this man, Reinhard Koffler, go. 10 more minutes on the clock as there Reinhard Koffler accelerates down through the Parabolica. That part of the circuit just seems to go on and on and on, and even out of the Parabolica there's still quite a lot of the run up to the Spitzkehrer left before you finally get to the hairpin. Pret out the other side of it, race leader, and looking for a 4th class win of the season here. Philippe Pret up front, makes his way down into the stadium. So the margin 4.8 at the start of the lap. In sector 1, 0.6 quicker was Koffler. In sector 2, over a second quicker was Koffler. He has very definitely got the bit between his teeth now, and he's going to be almost with him by the end of the next lap, I would offer you. The gap is being hacked away now. Reinhard Koffler hasn't done the fastest lap, but he's absolutely on a mission, that's for sure. So the leader goes through once again. That is Philippe Pret. Reinhard Koffler second, and the gap is now 2 seconds with just under 9 minutes to go. And now it is looking much more likely that Reinhard Koffler is going to win the race for both him and Martin Koch. Initially, the gap was coming down by tenths, but now by massive chunks. On that lap, the best part of 2.5 seconds. So Reinhard Koffler then coming up towards the exit of turn 3. Further back, Jean-Luc Boblic is hanging on to 3rd place. Loris Hezemans is 4th, Jörg Wiebahn 5th, and Alexandre Leroy in 6th place. But Philippe Pret starting to feel the pressure a little bit now, and he will make this decision whether he wants an outright win or he's quite content to have the class victory. Into turn 7, they swing once more, really fast right-hander that, and then onto the brakes for the turn 8 left into the Mercedes arena. Maserati versus KTM up front. Down towards turn 8 goes the Philippe Pret Maserati, that is still in the lead, but it's not going to be there for much longer, I don't think, because Reinhard Koffler is now just about within striking distance. So as they come up to the end of lap 23, Maserati versus KTM, covered by nothing at all. And where does Koffler choose to make the move? Is it going to be at the first opportunity down at turn 1? Is he near enough? Let's see. They break the beam, and 2.1 seconds last time is 0.2 of a second this time. Koffler doesn't make the move there, but turn 2 possibly will be the place. Let's see. The KTM looks to the inside line, and Reinhard Koffler thinks about it, thinks about it, thinks about it. Pret gives him racing room, in fairness, but Reinhard Koffler doesn't force the issue. Instead, would prefer a clean pass, not a scrappy, desperate one, and then lines up to have a go on the inside here, going up towards the Parabolica. up the inside, gets level, as there, Stefan Rossina goes ahead of Alexandre Leroy. And new race leader at turn 6 is Reinhard Koffler. So the KTM goes by. Reinhard Koffler makes that move stick going in towards the hairpin, and Philippe Pret, I suspect he's quite content to just sit behind him now and take class-winning points. Reinhard Koffler then much the faster. There was no way, really, with the pace of the KTM, that Pret was going to be able to repel him for another 6 minutes or so. And so through has gone Reinhard Koffler. So the KTM that's already, of course, taken wins on 2 occasions this year, notably last time out at Spa, is on for a third. It will also, therefore, get the full compensation time in the pits for the next race. But Reinhard Koffler has done a very good job in this stint, charging his way back into contention, into the lead, and now with just under 6 minutes of the race to go, he's going to come up against some traffic as well, because Simon Birch, I think, he's going to go a lap down in that ailing KTM. Still circulates, but at a much reduced pace now. Now Stefan Rossina, in the meantime, having got himself up past Alexandre Leroy, is onto the back of Jörg Wiebahn. So that's the next battle to look for. The race leaders come into turn 2. And this the replay coming down towards turn 1 of Rossina lining up, getting through on the inside of Alexandre Leroy, makes his way through. So Rossina here onto the tail of Jörg Wiebahn, thinks about a move at turn 2, certainly has a look, but that doesn't work for him, so slots back in behind. 4 3/4 minutes of the race to go now, so heading towards the last couple of laps. Rossina running third in Pro-Am. Even if he gets past Wiebahn, he's still going to be third in Pro-Am because the class opposition is away up the road. But a podium for Stefan Rossina and Stefan Rattel in class would be good. Behind, don't forget, is Alexandre Leroy. Now, his 12-second penalty is going to drop him behind Klaus Angerhofer, so he still needs to keep pushing, try and get away if he can. There's Wiebahn, there's Rossina. Down they come. Rossina getting quicker all the time, getting closer all the time. Don't forget, he's not raced this car before, so it's new to him for the weekend. He's been adapting quickly, and the former Porsche Super Cup racer thinks about a move on the inside there, but no way through. Slots back in, rattles up the curb on the way into the stadium. The race leaders, in the meanwhile, 9/10 of a second between them. Koffler not really getting away. They've just started lap 26. As here, Rossina gets a really good run out of the Sachs curve. There's no gap on the inside of that little S at 14 and 15, and that therefore means that he's going to have to stay behind at least for 1 more corner, 2 more corners. And now if he pulls the pin, might be able to have a go at turn 1, which is how he got past Leroy a couple of laps back. Out of turn 1. The Mercedes with good grunt, of course, out of the corner, just able to stretch the margin ever so slightly. So Jörg Wiebahn ahead of Stefan Rossina. Wiebahn heading for third in Am, Rossina heading for third in Pro-Am. No matter which way round they finish on the track, they're still going to be third in their respective classes. Rossina would like the place overall, that's for certain. Heading now up towards the Spitzkehrer hairpin. Brake hard. Alexandre Leroy staying with them there behind, but again, not really being able to fight back, and he's got that Damocletian penalty anyway. Into the arena at turn 8 comes this good little fight between Jörg Wiebahn and Stefan Rossina. The race leader, in the meantime, is coming up to the timing line and will get 2 more laps out of the race. Past the wall cam goes Jörg Wiebahn. Stefan Rossina still chasing on behind him. Goes through. So Wiebahn just about hanging on to that place. He's being made to work very hard for this by Stefan Rossina. Rosina back in racing after a good few years away, when he took time out to build up his business, but has come back in this GT2 concept. Initially with KTMs, going very nicely, but now, if you like, becoming a gun for hire with other teams and other brands. That's Loris Hezemans now, who's got himself up ahead of Jean-Luc Bobelic, so that change for third place. Hezemans having relieved Eric de Donker and going nicely. So the two Mercedes, again, their class positions remain unchanged, even though it's a change for the overall place. And Rosina has got himself up past Wiebahn, so that changes as well. 5th and 6th, job done. Rosina now getting away as the cars make that sweep up towards turn 6. Reinhard Koffler, though, clear in the lead. Wiebahn attacks once more. Stefan Rosina almost stops the car on the apex there to make sure that there's no opportunity for Jörg Wiebahn to fight back. Down they come towards the Mercedes arena once again, and now that he's gone through, you would expect really Rosina to be able to break clear. That Audi with Rosina at the wheel showed good car speed yesterday. He's starting to do the same again now as the field turns down to the stadium. The leader is on his last lap. There he is, just having gone by. And Philippe Pret, in fairness to him, has stayed with Reinhard Koffler here. He's not letting him get away by too much. And there are your two class winners then on this final lap of the race. In third place, Loris Hezemans. And then for fourth, Jean-Luc Bobelic. They've already gone through. Fifth will be Stefan Rosina. And there's his fight for sixth place on the road now. Jörg Wiebahn ahead of Alexandre Leroy. But as I mentioned earlier on, it's not really a true battle, given the penalty that will be applied to Leroy post-race. What he wants to do, though, is, of course, try and get himself as far away from the opposition as he can. And Klaus Angerhofer is not that far behind. He's certainly within 12 seconds. Angerhofer is 7.8 seconds back. So Leroy will lose one place. And Pascal Gibon, who has just gone across the line next, is a further 10 seconds back. So, yeah, it'll be one place that the penalty costs Alexandre Leroy. But for Reinhard Koffler, it is going to be a second victory in succession, having won at Spa, and he's going to win here. It'll be a third of the year as well. And with Gorini and Tamborini's Maserati not scoring, that's great news for that team in the championship. As up now through turn 12 comes the KTM. Reinhard Koffler now up towards the final couple of corners and the checkered flag, and a third win of the year then. So the combination of Koch and Koffler, who won race 2 at Misano, race 2 at Spa, are going to win race 1 here at Hockenheim. Win number 3 of the year beckons in the Fanatec GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli. There is the flag for Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch to win, with Philippe Pret taking second and a class victory. And for him, that is a 4th win of the season. Philippe Pret doing everything absolutely right to take a class win. He will start from class pole for race 2 as well. So the race leading car, the KTM, and as the others come home, the number 80 KTM looking very sorry for itself after that suspension and steering damage that it picked up earlier on in the race. So another team with some work to do. The Razun Morven Racing Squad, they've got a GT4 car to run next here at Hockenheim, but a car to repair as well. But Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch working really well as a partnership there to come out on top and securing that victory. Philippe Pret winning his class once more. So as far as Pro-Am is concerned, Koch and Koffler victorious, Hezemans and de Donker second, and Rosina and Rattel third. And then in Am, it will be Philippe Pret the winner from Jean-Luc Bobelic and Gilles Vannelet. And then third should be Jörg Wiebahn and Stefan Perrin, because although Alexandre Leroy was ahead on that last lap in the end, his penalty will drop him. It's not yet been applied, but it will get there, no doubt. So Martin Koch, Reinhard Koffler the victors from Philippe Pret, and then Eric de Doncker and Loris Hezemans in third, fourth Gilles Vannelet with Jean-Luc Bobelic, and fifth Stefan Rattel and Stefan Rossiner. After that, it's going to change once the penalty is applied. So Jörg Wiebahn and Stefan Perrin will be sixth, Seti Samini and Klaus Angerhofer seventh. Down to eighth will drop Alexander Leroy. Ninth will be Pascal Gibbon and Christophe Bourret, and Simon Birch and Thomas Anderson in 10th. So Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch victorious. Alexander Leroy there going through shot, a little bit frustrated to say the least, but some good racing in GT2. It's a shame we lost Ricci and Gorini after that first lap tangle, because both of those cars would have been competitive, and the same true of Pierre Caffer in the second stint as well in number 18. That would have been a car to watch. So hopefully all of those can be made good for the later race. But Mauro Ricci, to say the least, in that interview was not very pleased about being biffed out of the way, and the more that happens, the more gentlemen drivers don't want to come back. So Leonardo Gorini, I'm sure, will be talked to by the stewards for his zealotry at the start of the race. Stefan Rossiner greeted by Stefan Rattel. Loris Hezemans arrives. Gilles Vannelet squeezes past the car. Goes to join his co-driver Jean-Luc Bobelic. It's amazing how cramped a Parc Fermé can be when you've got to get the top three from the classes there. And rarely do you have enough space to open the door. But this time, at least for the early birds, there is the room. Stefan Rossiner being given his Pirelli cap as a podium finisher. And Reinhard Koffler brings the winning KTM down the pit road after a very impressive drive indeed. Martin Koch goes to greet his co-driver. Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler, who now has to thread himself out of the car. Belts to one side. Out, squeezes and clambers Reinhard Koffler. And they can stand atop the car to celebrate win number 3 of the season for the MZR, Motorsport Zentrum Reed team. Stefan Rattel there to congratulate them. Reinhard Koffler goes to the team to say thank you very much. Handshakes all round. And then the podium beckons before attention here at Hockenheim turns to GT4 and then to GT3 action, a real GT festival here this weekend. Cars there in the scrutineering Parc Fermé area. And the drivers, once they've finished with the teams, will head to the podium. Now, for Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch, it is win number 3 of the season, and they are with Antonia in the pit lane.
Reini, Martin, a podium every single race this season. Wow.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the team did such a special work this weekend. They worked through all the free practices to give us this car we have now. Martin did a great job by the race of his life. Very nice. Yeah, and we are just really trying to focus that we are constant on the podium and hope at the end to be on the top step.
Well, I would say your consistency is pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like the last, every race this season we've been on the podium, right? In the last 13 races, 12 podiums, so not too bad. And I think, I mean, the team has prepared a very nice car, pretty quick. Thanks to the support of KTM on that as well. It's an awesome car. I really like it. And yeah, yesterday evening, I think we both had a good feeling. We knew we have a fast car, so.
Incredibly impressive, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Martin Koch, as I was saying at the start of the race, not that experienced yet, but doing a very, very good job there, coming home victorious. So at the end of the 7th race of the year, a 3rd victory for Koffler and Koch. but for Philippe Pret, a 4th win within the AM class. And a very good job done once more by the Maserati driver, Philippe Pret, for LP Racing, giving the team something to celebrate, because most of the other cars seemed to hit problems, didn't they? Damage to Gorini, putting that car out of the race. Drive shaft for the Doppelmayr Kappa car, putting that out of the race. Stefan Rattal and Stefan Rossina's car, the other one, to make it home unscathed with 3rd in class. So let's look back at race 1 of the day for the Fanatec GT2 European Series that began with a quick starting Martin Koch to the outside line, Philippe Pret on the inside line giving the curb a big whack, and Gilles Vannelet getting up round the outside to take the place away from him. Vannelet also was able to storm through into the race lead on that opening lap. The Mercedes having great pace in a straight line, moving itself through, but it wasn't long before there was drama. Leonardo Gorini harpooning Mauro Ricci and turning him around. Neither car was able to get going quickly, so the safety car deployed, and that meant that Gilles Vannelet led them around to the restart, chased by Martin Koch and Philippe Pret in 3rd place. Christophe Bourret got up the inside of Thomas Anderson. Contact between the two pushed the KTM out wide, and it did for the steering of the KTM, badly delaying that car as the pit window was open. The last one to come in, Gilles Vannelet, to give way to Jean-Luc Boberly, but with 10 seconds extra to serve from winning at Spa, the car fell behind Philippe Pret. It was overtaken by Reinhard Koffler's KTM, which in turn was able to get onto terms with the race leader, and eventually Reinhard Koffler was able to make his move on the run up towards the Spitzkehre to put the car into the lead of the race, and a 3rd victory of the season. Philippe Pret dropping to 2nd, but hanging on to the lead of the AM category, and they're taking a 4th win of the year. Good effort being made to take 2nd in Pro-Am by Loris Hesmans and Eric de Donker, moving ahead of Boberly and Vannelet on track, but the checkered flag would be fluttered yet again in the direction of the green KTM. Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler victorious at Hockenheim. So the podium is being made ready. Drivers suitably adorned with the correct hats. And so thumbs up from the SRO team to say that we are good to go. The trophies are all there. And the drivers now will be called forward. And from the Pro-Am class, first to the podium, Stefan Rattal and Stefan Rossina for 3rd with the Audi from the LP Racing team. Then for 2nd place from the Motorsport 98 team, Loris Hesmans and Eric de Donker, one of Stefan Rattal's very first customers. He was on that grid for the first BPR GT race all those years ago. And then a 3rd win of the year. Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler step forward as the race winners, and the MZR team celebrates another victory here at Hockenheim. So the trophies next, as the teams look on from the pit lane, which is getting very busy with cars arriving for the GT4 race. But the trophies go to the winning drivers. Fanatec, energetic supporters of the SRO GT world. And Marco Schubert from Fanatec presents the team winning trophy. And then the winning driver's trophies handed to him with the Hockenheim circuit map in there. So Martin Koch on the left as you look, Reinhard Koffler alongside him, celebrate a win, and that's win number 3 of the year. They will maintain, therefore, the full complement of success time going into the 2nd race of the day, but they've overcome it once. Let's see what they can do later on. Stefan Rattal gets a soaking. Very disloyal customers. And the champagne is sprayed for the conclusion of Fanatec GT2 European Series Race 1. The Pro-Am podium then is complete. A win for Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler. Race 2 coming up later on in the day is the final race of the GT part of the weekend. Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler make their way up from the podium. So the AM drivers will be next to the podium. There you can see the winning cars. The teams all down in the pit road, teams and families. And there's a whole line of GT4 cars ready to go out on track as well for their race, which now is happening. The pit lane has just opened, so those cars all being released. This is how we look in Pro-Am at the moment, with Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler on 145 points to the 114 of the non-scoring Leonardo Guarini and Carlo Tamburini, so that really has hurt them in the championship. Thomas Anderson and Simon Birch third. Again, scoring badly because of the damage the car sustained early on in the race. There is Jo Wiebahn and Stefan Perrin going to the podium for third in AM, Jean-Luc Bobelic, Gilles Vannelet for second in AM, and then it will be Philippe Pret, who knows absolutely how to get to the top step. He's been there so often this year. Victorious once again in Fanatec GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli. Philippe Pret atop the podium, and he can celebrate for the LP Racing team a fourth win of the year. So Philippe Pret takes the applause, and the LP Racing team has the national anthem played in its honour as the class-winning outfit. So well done to LP Racing. The Italian squad having something to celebrate after a pretty difficult race. Steve Rouse from Pirelli is the man to present the trophies. Pirelli rubber, of course, for GT2, 3 and 4. And the trophies presented to the drivers. Philippe Pret will wait his turn as the race winner. And we'll look forward then to the second race at 15:40 this afternoon to see whether it's going to be another race win for Reinhard Koffler and Martin Koch in Fanatec GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli.